any parent will tell you there's never a moment where you're like, well, we're good. We nailed that. Like, it's a constant process. My own baby, who's now almost 14, is queer and non-binary.
There is, in this contemporary moment, more acceptance and validation than perhaps we've ever seen before. But on the other hand, there is still a pervasive anti-LGBTQ ethos around us.
The reason I think that more Gen Z folks are, coming out as LGBTQ is because they know that they're not alone. They know that there's people like them.
When we're looking at the concerns of parents of LGBTQ kids, they kind of are really diverse. For some parents who are really struggling with their child's identity, so we still need to work on just that basic process of acceptance.
My mom, she definitely knew that I was gay before I even knew I was gay. I remember crying because it felt amazing to finally be able to be open with someone.
We know that there are at least 2 million households in the United States that have at least one LGBTQ identified young person living there.
There is language now available to inhabit that might be more truthful, might be more genuine to them that other generations did not necessarily have.
I grew up in Preston Hollow in Texas, where football is everything and jock things are everything. You know, when guys would say something gross, when they would use the F word or that's so gay. And I remember standing out and speaking out and always being told, you're so sensitive.
And for me, I grew up in a traditional Southern household, the alleged white picket fence upbringing. Nothing outside of that box was ever discussed.
I remember when I was pregnant, you read all those books of what to expect, language that was different back then, but there was talks in there about having a transgender child or having an intersex child. So Drew and I talked about that. What if we did have an LGBTQ kid?
Ever since a young age, I always gravitated towards feminine things, and I would always wear my mom's heels. I kind of just knew from a young age that I was a girl, and I couldn't vocalize that, but my parents really helped me with that. It gave me the words to describe what I was feeling.
We have a cisgender son that never asked questions or questions why they were made a certain way or why their bodies were made a certain way. By the time we caught up, we took her to a gender therapist at the age of 5, which confirmed, what we had already suspected and knew, because she was telling us who she was all the time.
I'm an 80s baby, 90s kid. It wasn't hot to be gay back then. I had no role models. I had nobody to look up to. I had no allies. I had no friends. It was just me in my gayness, hiding it, being silent. I was married previously to my daughter and my son's father. So what she saw was a hetero marriage.
Freshman year, my orientation class, there's a lady that is sitting in my history class, and it was like I was starstruck and I was so confused because I didn't know my stomach was bubbly and my heart was fluttering. So coming out to my mom, I don't know if she asked me or if I just said it to her, but along the lines of, yeah, I'm gay.
You missing a part, because I had an attitude.
Okay, so she was upset because she was one of the last people to know, but I feel like the people that are most influential to you, like my mom and my dad, I did not tell. And I think I've told my dad an extra 2 years later. I don't know why I was scared that she would not accept me or feel like she would love me any different.
There's two sides of me. So one, I am that parent, but I also am someone's child too. My father doesn't like my lifestyle. The feeling of that, of rejection and pain and hurt and not being accepted is terrible from your own blood.
Birdie's always just been so uniquely themselves. Birdie came out when they were 10. It was really sweet because Birdie said, there's a word that I am. I know what the word is. And I was like, oh my gosh, you have a word? That's so great. What's the word? And Birdie said gay. And I was like, well, that's a great word. I love it. They felt like a big relief from it. And then Birdie's identity as non-binary, they, them pronouns, that came a couple years later. They said, I really feel like this. and I'm non-binary and I would like my pronouns to be they, them. And I'm like, okay, that sounds great. And I have to say, like, I just was less aware of non-binary, what exactly it meant. The pronoun thing was tricky. And I think that the moment of growth for me was the self-education. Like, I wasn't asking my 12-year-old to educate me why, because also Birdie made it very clear that's not their job. So, and I was like, yeah, okay, I get it. Like, I gotta figure this out on my own.
The current climate is simultaneously one of heightened visibility, which means heightened representation, but also with that heightened visibility comes a heightened backlash to that visibility and the people living those lives.
I will always remember my first mistake.
When I wanted to wear my favorite dress to school, she was kind of hesitant because she knows how some kids can be.
We were getting ready, for kindergartens, and I knew that the time was coming, but I thought, oh, okay, this is really here. Just made me really scared. And I asked her, what if people make fun of you? And I saw her mind shift and she said, you know what, I don't think I'm gonna wear that on the first day.
And so I never ended up wearing the dress, but that's when they kind of realized, like, okay, this isn't really a phase, this is the real deal. Once I came out as trans over the summer to, the school and stuff like that, there was this one girl, she would tell me that I was disgusting every day, and she would tell me that her big brother was gonna beat me up. And so it just went really downhill really quickly. When I moved from Texas to Arizona, I kind of used that as an opportunity to be stealth in school, and the reason I did that is because of the bullying that I endured in Texas. We have a rule that we have to tell the parents and the family that I'm trans before sleeping over. And when I told the girl and her mom, I told the girl, you have to keep this secret, like you cannot tell anybody. And she went behind my back and told a couple people.
It terrifies me to think about the teenage years. Not just the typical things that come with it, driving, but to have a transgender daughter who has been public and out there is scary.
The challenges of parenting a child that is out. She's so fearless in who she is. And I love that about her. But the old school in me is like, well, wait a minute. Not everybody's gonna accept you. And there are people out there trying to harm you.
Another part of it is also just ancestry, like me being a Black woman. I feel like if this is what I'm going to do and if this is how I want to live, I want to be the face in the forefront of everyone so they definitely feel okay.
Why do we think that Gen Z is the queerest generation so far? We always need to remember, it's not that suddenly there are more queer people out there and more people identifying as LGBTQ. It's just that we are at a point in time where more people have access to the language, the resources, the understanding of this conversation than ever before.
So you can be scrolling social media and you see a video of a kid sitting their parents down and telling them that they're gay, and then those parents saying that's okay, we still love you, I think is really particularly new.
If we look at statistics, we also know that a significant portion of homeless youth are LGBTQ identified, and that is because their families are not supportive of them. So there still is, even this year in 2022, a lot of risk associated with this. It's not an easy conversation for everyone, and in some cases, it's a really dangerous conversation.
What we do is we interview trans youth and give them a platform to share their experience being trans during these very challenging times. Hi guys, welcome to Kind Sky Talk Politics, a trans kid production.
I'm Kai Shapley and my pronouns are her, she, like the candy bar.
How can you act as a refuge and solace for people when they're feeling vulnerable? I think if you can commit to, in a really steadfast and intentional way, commit to proliferating trans and queer life and livability, I think doing the small things that you can do to affirm people's lives, I think is quite important.
Communicate, first and foremost. Make sure that your kiddo, their kiddo, knows that you're accepting.
Find a support group.
PFLAG was founded almost 50 years ago by the mom of a gay man. Her name was Jean Manford, who recognized that her son's life had a lot of challenges in it simply because of the fact that he identified as gay. We have almost 400 chapters around the country that carry out our mission of support, education, and advocacy to help families stay healthy and together when people are coming out. Find out what the policies in the school district where your child is going to school are regarding safety, regarding bullying, regarding non-discrimination. If those policies are not inclusive and enumerated, and that means identifying sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression, you can become an advocate to change those policies.
Birdie's gotten really mad at me before for misgendering them or misgendering a friend of theirs. All I can ever do, and like I guess this is like the biggest advice I could say to a parent, don't be defensive, just own it. Just say the truth, which is that you're gonna do better.
I would say, before you knew your child was gay, right? You loved them. I get it. I understand that it's scary for both of us, right? You have to navigate it together because this is something new. So to those parents, I would say, just one, take yourself out of it. Your feeling of, oh, what did I do wrong? And maybe I failed as a parent, and why is my kid like this? And my kid is different. It's not about you.
You have to actively talk to people about and change hearts and minds or whatever. Like, you have to really continually have conversations with people about how we all deserve to like live the life we want to live and raise our kids, keep them alive, and raise them to be the best versions of themselves that they can be.
I'm proud of my daughter. I love my daughter. And to watch her grow into the young lady that she is now is amazing.
My parents have always been my biggest supporters, and I'm really lucky to have parents that will always love me unconditionally no matter what.
Skylar is funny, she's sassy, she's tenacious, as Dad said. She's smart, she's kind. We are proud of our transgender daughter because of who she is.